So I was asked by one of the channel members if I could make a video showing not only how I take photos on a white background, but how do I edit them. So I've been thinking, what product, what item, what can I use to take a photo on a white background to show you some of the most difficult things you might encounter. And then it was right in front of me. Not the beer, the glass. Look, a clear glass on a white background. There's many challenges with something like this. So let me sit up and I'll show you how we do it. Okay, for this video, I'm gonna be using the newer MS150B cob light, which is nice and bright. And I'm also gonna use a softbox, this Octabox here, just to make the lighting nice and soft. You can see that it has a reflection underneath. The glassware has a reflection. That's usually done with acrylic. So an acrylic background, something like that, which I have, but I didn't bring because I didn't bring all my equipment. I'm traveling for photo shoots, so I didn't bring everything I own. So I'm gonna use this from the flip side of this PVC background. Now to weigh it down, I'm gonna be using these. This is just to hold the background down, like that. We're gonna clean it, make sure it doesn't have any fingerprints, and I'll show you how it looks. I'll bring the camera over here. If you notice here with the glass itself, it kind of loses definition because it's all white and it's on white. So the way to solve that problem is by using these black cards, I guess you would call them. So they have black on one side, silver on the other side, and white on the inside. When you're shooting something transparent on a white background, something like a glass, you want definition in the edges. So by putting the black cards here, it automatically just fills in, it gives it that shadow, that reflection. So now your glass is on a white background and that has definition, which is exactly how the sample photo showed it. See that? So that's our base, literally just trying to copy the photo as an example. So now let me take a picture and see what that looks like. For the photograph, I'm using the R5 with a 51.8. I'm gonna take that flash because I'm not using a flash. It's literally just a steady light, which I need to readjust because it's not on the background. When you wanna isolate something on white, you want the light on the background. Since it's a transparent subject, we don't want light on that subject, we want it on the background. So let me do that real quick. All right, so there you have it. Now the light is on the background mostly. The drink or the glass here is isolated. So I'm overexposing by 3 stops. And I have my highlight warning feature. So if I show you the photo, that blinking there, that's what's overexposed. So I need to make it a little bit brighter. So I'm gonna change my shutter speed to a 40th of a second, which, because I'm rested on the table, I can handhold at that speed. So let's try again. Now it is much more that's overexposed. But if you look at the top of the glass, it's also overexposed. And that's because I don't have anything reflecting back onto that top of that. So this is dark. So I'm gonna put that there, not only to block some of the light, but also to reflect that from the top. So let's do another photograph. Okay, I moved the black cards a little bit closer so it reflects more of that and it gives me more of a texture on the glassware. So let me try this, see what that looks like. I'm still not getting the texture on the top, which means I gotta move the light to shine more on the background and less on my subject. All right, so you can see that the light is literally on the background. That way the subject doesn't have any extra light. It's literally just reflected light. Ideally, and usually I'm using a strobe light for something like this, because that way I could use F9, F10 and get enough detail on the cup. Because I'm using a video light, I'm gonna be shooting at ISO 1000, 1/40th of a second at F9, because it's not as bright as a strobe. So with the video light, ISO 1000, just so I could get F9. And now the reason I'm trying to use F9 is so that I could get more in focus. If you look at the glassware here in the picture, everything is in focus, the front, the back, all the way down, which means somebody used a very small aperture. All right, let me do now a different product like this one. That's the newer trigger, just to show you a different perspective or a different subject on a white background. And you could, I mean, literally, you could use the same technique with anything. So there's the trigger. Now I can use this to reflect some of that light right back onto the product. Same thing with this side. I can flip it and I'll reflect that light right back onto that product. Now, the other thing I'm gonna do is bring that light directly above the product and not so much the background. I'm still using ISO 1000 f9 because I wanna get more detail on that product. And again, this is using one light. I could add another light from the front. I could add highlights. You don't have to. One light does a fantastic job. In this case, maybe if I bring the light forward and shoot back, it will give me a different highlight, which I'll do right now. I'm not so worried about the background. I just want better lighting on the product. So right now I have white and isolated because of where the light is hitting from here to here. The rest, I could Photoshop. I could just do a gradient in Lightroom and overexpose if I include any of that gray in the background. For now, with this composition, the product is looking great. Everything is looking sharp. If I wanted to add another light as a highlight, I could do a reflected light or a direct light. And for that, I'm gonna use the newer HP80C. Again, small portable cob light. If I shine it directly at this light, it's gonna fill in that way, giving me just a little bit of a highlight on the product. If I put it directly on it, you can see that it might blow out a little bit of the detail, but now all the shadow goes to the back. So let's try that. Then we can select which one we like. That is completely isolated. And I could even up my shutter speed and F10. So that looks fantastic. It's completely isolated on camera. You can see that the blinking lights is what's overexposed. The product itself is perfectly exposed. All right, so just like that, we have two different styles. One with a diffused indirect light for a borderless subject like a glass. And another one, directed light and a soft light, two lights if you wanted to, for a product with borders. So now let's go to the computer, edit the photos and see what we come up with. Literally just load them into the computer. You can see the difference. The closer the black cards are, the more definition you get on the glass itself. So here they were a little bit apart. Literally by moving in inches away, it literally gives you definition on the glassware, which is what we wanted because, as you can see, that's exactly what these here have. Now, the other interesting thing is when I showed you on camera, it said that it was overexposed. When I load it on Lightroom, it's not. And that's things that happen. The way the computer, it's giving me the highlight warning feature, but it doesn't mean it's completely overexposed. With Lightroom, because it's a raw file, I'm able to recover some of that detail. The preview that I get on the camera is not exactly the raw file. Okay, as far as an edit, what I'm gonna do is just play with the contrast so I can get a little bit more definition and ignore the black. I'm gonna erase that later or just crop it. It's in a white background, so it doesn't matter. Let's just crop it out of the way. Literally here and here. And I'm gonna go up here because that's how the glassware is here. Now, the other thing I can do in Lightroom is do select background. And Lightroom is literally gonna do magic, select the background and give me just the things that have focus and definition. It takes a little bit of time, and because it doesn't know what this is, it's screwed up. It doesn't see where the focus is because it's confused in the Lightroom. So let's ignore that mask, and I create a new mask, and I'm gonna select a subject. Select object. So I'm gonna select here the edges of this glass, which looks incredible right now, right out of camera, which I'm really, when you have the right lighting, it really does help. Okay, there's the glass selected in Lightroom. Now it gave me the object. If I do exposure and up the exposure a little bit, it's exposing everything because it selected the glass. So if I hit invert, now it gives me the opposite. So the glass keeps the detail and the background is overexposed. So just like that, by the way, that red, that's the highlight warning feature in Lightroom. You can turn it on by clicking the J. It gives you, the black will look blue, and the red is your overexposed areas. Now, if I wanted to add more definition here on the top, so literally all I did was add a mask to the top of the glass and drop the exposure, which brings back all of the detail that was there. And now I'm just erasing here the parts that I don't want shown because that's the opening of the glass, so I want that to be clear. But literally, if you have enough black reflections on your glass, you wouldn't have to do this. I just happen to leave mine at home. Anyway, you can see how easy, just with masks, you bring back the detail that was there. Especially with the raw photo, you're gonna have a lot more detail. Anyway, I think that's good enough for the example. If I was doing for a client, I would really zoom in and do everything differently, but there you have it. See how that looks very similar to this one right here. Even the reflection, even though I don't have an acrylic background, that PVC did fantastic. Cool. All right, now let's go on to the other product. In the camera, it said that it was overexposed. I come here to Lightroom, and now it's not. And that's literally because the display you get on the camera is not a true representation of that raw file. If you look at your histogram, it might be a little bit better than your highlight warning feature, but you want to turn those on so you know if you're overexposing or not. You have a little leeway, but not that much. Now, unfortunately, I didn't use a clean product. I've been using this flash, this trigger, and it has fingerprints and it has whatever, but you get the idea. Right now, it is not overexposed. I have the highlight warning feature on, and it's not overexposed. Again, I can crop it to ignore the areas that I know I'm not gonna need, because why would I work on those if I don't need them? And by cropping it like this, now it's on white. That right there is pretty much all you need. I can add a little bit of contrast to make the subject pop on the white background. And you can see that immediately I started to get a little bit of white on the background. Just a little bit. If I up the whites, now it's pretty much all overexposed. If I want to clean this corner here, I can do a gradient or just literally just use a brush. I like the gradients because it fades in and around, and I think right there is good. And just like that, it is totally isolated. A little bit of shadow underneath is perfectly fine. Let me remove the J. The only thing that bothers me is all the little dust and fingerprints because it's a used product, and when you're trying to sell something for stock, you have to clean it, you have to take your time, not just hurry up and did it like I just did. I also did another product, a gimbal, and you can see it right here. It looks great. The white background is not, it doesn't reach, whatever, that's fine. Like I did before, just select the background, and it's gonna do this magic. I'm gonna hit the J so I know when it's overexposed, and I'm just gonna lift the whites. And again, you don't have to do it completely on white. I've always done it, I like that. And now you see here at the base how it's taken away from the reflection of the feet. Lightroom, I can go to here, intersect mask with a gradient. So literally I'm just gonna bring it up. And again, it's the opposite, so I'm gonna invert the mask. And just like that, I have the texture, I have a little bit of reflection on the bottom, and I'm gonna crop it to make it fit my white background. All right, now look at my exposure thing here. I haven't changed anything in the controls, so I'm gonna up the exposure. I'm gonna bring down the highlights. That's the overall, so it's gonna change the exposure on the product. And now, just by doing that contrast and highlights, it looks so much better on a white background. I could also play with the shadows since it's a dark product, or up the shadows and bring down the blacks. So you can adjust this whatever way you see fit for that particular product. But anyway, that was a quick video how to take the photos and edit objects or products on a white background. So I hope this helped. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.